They told you you're just a man, born, named, shaped by time and destined to die. And you believed it. But what if that entire story was a lie? What if you're not human at all? What if you're immortal, and the only reason you forgot is because you were trained to forget? From your first breath, you were taught to fear endings, to seek approval, and to chase meaning in a world built on illusions. But what if this identity you defend so fiercely was never really you? What if your body is just a costume, and the soul wearing it has no beginning and no end? You see, everything you've struggled with, fear, failure, rejection, only exists because you've been disconnected from your divine consciousness. They gave you a false identity and called it truth. But something deeper has always been there, watching, waiting. And when you finally remember who you really are, everything changes. Time slows, fear fades, power returns. You stop playing the game like a pawn and start living as the creator. The question is, are you ready to remember? Because once you do, the illusion can't hold you anymore. 1. The human mask. How you got trapped in a false identity. Since the moment you arrived here, the world handed you a script. This is your name. This is your gender. This is how you behave. You didn't choose these roles. They were assigned. And like any good actor, you learned to play along. The problem is, over time, you forgot you were playing. You started to believe the role was real. But the truth? The man in the mirror isn't you. It's a mask that's been glued to your awareness for so long, you forgot what your real face looks like. Think about it. People introduce themselves with job titles, marital status, and past achievements, as if those things define who they are. But strip all that away, and what's left? That quiet space inside when you close your eyes and no one's around to impress? That's closer to your real self than any identity card will ever be. You're not the resume, not the reputation, and definitely not the story others tell about you. You're the one who's been watching it all from the beginning. Most men never question this identity because it works well enough to survive. But surviving isn't the same as living. The deeper truth is, you were born with a memory of your immortality, of your divine consciousness, but over time, that memory got buried under layers of illusion. This illusion of identity becomes the prison, and worse, people decorate their cells thinking it's freedom. Wake-up calls come when the story collapses, divorce, illness, financial ruin, and the mask begins to crack. Now here's the twist. That cracking is a gift. When the mask starts falling apart, something real begins to peek through. It's not about becoming someone new, it's about remembering who's always been there, underneath it all. That realization isn't always comfortable, but it's the beginning of spiritual awakening. And just when you think you're starting to figure it out, you realize there's a much deeper forgetting at play, one that started long before you could even speak. 2. The birth of amnesia. Why you forgot you're an eternal being. No one comes into this world afraid, confused, or ashamed. A baby doesn't worry about bills, opinions, or future plans. It simply is. That pure state of presence is natural to your soul, but not to your conditioning. From the moment you learned your name, the amnesia began. Parents taught you the rules, teachers praised performance, and society told you how to behave if you wanted to be accepted. Slowly, the truth of your divine consciousness got buried under the noise. The world doesn't teach you that you're immortal. It teaches you to fit in, to obey, and to fear the unknown. That's not because people are evil, it's because they were taught the same illusion. They believed they were fragile, temporary, and limited, and so they passed that programming on without ever questioning it. They traded truth for safety, awareness for routine, and when a soul forgets its eternity, it starts living like time is the enemy. You've probably felt it, the low-key pressure of running out of time, the sense that if you don't make it by a certain age, you've failed. That's not real. That's the matrix of conditioning whispering lies in your ear. The truth is, the eternal part of you never left. It just got covered in layers of fear, guilt, and survival thinking. That's why meditation, solitude, and inner silence feel so powerful. They pull back the layers, even if just for a moment. If you want to remember who you really are, you have to interrupt the pattern. Start with questions. Who was I before the world told me who to be? What part of me watches my thoughts without judgment? That's not just mindfulness, that's the beginning of remembering. And once you start peeling back the layers, you'll see how something else took over your inner world. Something that's been pretending to protect you, but actually keeps you small. 3. The ego trap. The program that keeps you small and powerless. The ego was never the villain. It was the survival tool. It came online to protect you, to help you navigate a world full of rules, expectations, and invisible threats. But the same tool that once helped you fit in now keeps you locked out of your true self. The ego thrives on comparison, control, and fear. It whispers things like, "You're not enough," or "Don't let them see your weakness." And the more you believe it, the more you shrink into the illusion of identity, thinking you're just another man trying to survive. Look around and you'll see it everywhere. The constant need to prove, compete, and posture. It's all ego. That guy at the gym obsessed with his reflection. Ego. The boss who yells to feel powerful. Ego. But the most dangerous ego is the one inside your own head, convincing you that you need to chase external validation to be whole. This is why so many men burn out. They're not tired from life. They're exhausted from pretending to be someone they're not. And all of it is rooted in forgetting their spiritual awakening. Here's the trap. The ego will give you just enough success to keep you loyal. A little praise here, some recognition there. But it never lets you rest, never lets you just be. You're always chasing the next thing, always fearing the fall. But divine consciousness doesn't operate like that. It doesn't need to hustle for worth. It already knows its value is eternal, untouched by status or performance. And when you start living from that space, everything changes. From how you speak to how you walk into a room. To break the ego's grip, you don't need to kill it. You just need to stop letting it drive the car. Let it ride in the back seat where it belongs. Start watching your reactions. Pause before you speak. Meditate, not to escape, but to observe the voice in your head without becoming it. Practice silence, not to be quiet, but to listen beyond the noise. That's how you begin reclaiming your power. And as that illusion begins to lose its strength, you'll feel something else loosening too, something that's had a grip on your mind since the invention of the clock. 4. The matrix of time. Why the clock is your greatest illusion. Time is one of the most convincing illusions you've ever been sold. From a young age, you were trained to believe life is a straight line. Birth, success, decline, death. And because you believed it, you started racing against the clock. Deadlines, aging, milestones. It's all pressure built on the belief that you're running out of something. But the truth is, when you look at it from divine consciousness, there is no rush. The soul doesn't count years. It moves in presence, not panic. That feeling of "I'm late in life" or "I should be further ahead by now," it's not coming from your truth. It's coming from a society obsessed with measurement. You're told you should be married by this age, successful by that one, retired by another. But spiritual awakening isn't on a timer. You could wake up at 25 or 75, and the depth of that realization would be the same. Time doesn't measure growth, it only measures motion. And motion without awareness is just noise. Real immortality is felt when you step outside of this clock-based mindset. That's why moments of deep stillness feel so good. Ever sat by the ocean and forgotten what day it was? Ever lost track of time while doing something you love? That's not just peace. That's you stepping into a deeper layer of reality, one where eternity peeks through the cracks of the illusion. It's a reminder that the most powerful version of you doesn't live on a schedule. Start practicing presence as a rebellion. Don't just check your watch. Question why you're checking it. Build small rituals that pull you out of the race. Slow walks, mindful eating, time off screens. These moments expand your awareness and loosen time's grip. And when time no longer owns your mind, something unexpected happens. Your soul starts speaking louder, but to hear it clearly, you'll need to quiet everything else that's been placed between you and that voice. 5. Your soul never left. How to remember the truth beneath the lies. You've never actually been disconnected. The eternal part of you, the soul, the essence, the watcher behind the thoughts, has always been there. But it's been drowned out by years of noise, obligations, expectations, fears, and non-stop mental chatter. Most people wait for a crisis to finally pause and listen, but you don't have to hit rock bottom to start remembering. You just need to create space. Because in silence, the soul speaks, not with words, but with knowing. People chase gurus, retreats, even psychedelics, hoping for some grand awakening. But often, the most powerful moments come in absolute simplicity. A breath, a walk, sitting quietly without needing to achieve anything. Your divine consciousness isn't hidden in some remote temple. It's behind your eyes, right now, watching the scene unfold. But the mind has been so trained to search outside that it forgets the answer was always internal. That's why remembering feels more like coming home than learning something new. If you want to accelerate this process, create rituals that reconnect you to your inner world. Meditation is a powerful doorway, not as a technique to do right, but as a practice to return to yourself. Journaling helps too. Ask deeper questions like, what am I afraid to feel? Or, if nothing external could define me, who would I be? These questions don't have perfect answers, but they lead you to the stillness where answers reveal themselves. Your soul's memory isn't dead. It's dormant, waiting to be invited back to the surface. And once you start remembering, things get strange. In the best way. You begin seeing through people's masks, feeling energy in places you never noticed, sensing that life is more symbolic than logical. This isn't you going crazy. It's you waking up. And when that awareness sharpens, life no longer feels like something happening to you. It feels like a dream. But here's the catch. If it's a dream, someone must be dreaming it. The question is, are you the character or the one behind the dream? 6. Mastering the game. How to use this life without being used by it. Most people are being played by life without realizing it. They follow rules they never agreed to, chase goals that don't fulfill them, and call it normal. But once you realize this entire reality is like a game, something shifts. You stop reacting and start observing. You begin to notice patterns, emotional loops, and karmic setups. Life is no longer random, it's a reflection. And if you're the player, not the pawn, you can finally stop letting the game play you. The key is to stop identifying with the character you've been conditioned to be. You are not the anxious father, the overworked employee, or the man chasing one more validation hit. That's just the avatar. The real you is holding the controller. And once you reclaim that perspective, you start playing with awareness. That's when synchronicities increase, obstacles become puzzles, and life begins to respond to you, not the other way around. You go from being tossed around by reality to bending it. Try this. Treat every conflict as a test of consciousness. Instead of reacting with anger, ask yourself, what's this showing me about my internal state? You'll be surprised how fast things shift when you stop blaming the world and start mastering your role within it. Books like The School for Gods or Reality Transurfing are great tools for developing this mindset. They teach that what appears outside is really a mirror, and the clearer the mirror, the more precise your control becomes. But don't mistake control for forcing. Real mastery isn't about dominating others. It's about aligning yourself so deeply that life moves through you. You'll find that what you once chased starts coming to you, not because you demanded it, but because your inner world finally matched your desired outer world. And when that starts happening, something clicks. You're no longer living like a fragile human trying to survive. You're remembering what it means to move beyond limits. 7. Living beyond limits. What happens when you stop playing human? Most men don't even realize they're living inside a cage. They just think the cage is reality. The limits you believe in, what you can earn, how much love you deserve, how your body should age, are not absolute. They're inherited thoughts wrapped in convincing emotion. But once you stop playing human, meaning you stop buying into the fear, guilt, and scarcity, life begins to open up. You begin to act from immortality, not insecurity. And the shift isn't subtle, it's radical. You've seen this before. The man who walks into a room and shifts the energy without saying a word. He's not better, he's just free. He's not operating from need or approval seeking. That freedom is magnetic because it's rare. Most are stuck in the loop of proving something. But a man who knows his divine consciousness doesn't have to prove, it just expresses. His words carry weight, his silence even more. That's the result of someone no longer playing by the rules of limitation. Living beyond limits isn't about reckless behavior or pretending to be invincible. It's about knowing you're eternal and acting from that awareness. When you stop fearing failure, you take bolder steps. When you stop clinging to outcomes, you gain real clarity. You can love without attachment, work without stress, and rest without guilt. That's power. It's not loud, but it's unmistakable. Start experimenting with this by doing one thing today that scares your ego but feeds your soul. You'll feel the shift instantly. Eventually, you realize that playing small was never about safety. It was about forgetfulness. You forgot that you're not the costume. You're the being wearing the costume. And when that clicks, everything changes. You start feeling less like a participant and more like the architect. The world doesn't look so solid anymore. It starts to feel like clay in your hands. And the more you remember, the more natural it becomes to shape it with confidence. But to do that fully, there's one more truth to reclaim. 8. Becoming the eternal creator. Awaken the God within you. Once a man realizes he's not just human, the game changes. He stops waiting for permission, approval, or perfect timing. He moves with purpose, not pressure. That's what it means to awaken the God within. Not some mythical figure in the sky, but the power of divine consciousness expressing through form. You stop reacting and start creating. Not creating for status, but because creation itself is your nature. You're not here to survive. You're here to shape reality with clarity and boldness. You've probably seen glimpses of this version of yourself. Moments where you spoke your truth without flinching. Times when you acted on instinct and everything aligned. That wasn't luck. That was alignment. It's who you are without fear, without mental noise. And when you live from that place consistently, you don't need to manipulate the world. It bends naturally to your inner state. That's the power of immortality in motion. You don't chase, it flows through you. Want to access this state more often? Start by eliminating what makes you feel small. That might be toxic people, outdated routines, or thoughts you've carried for decades that no longer reflect who you are. Then replace those with practices that connect you to your creator state. Visualize before acting. Speak your reality into existence. Create daily, not just art, but solutions, opportunities, and new ways of being. Read works that affirm your power. As a man thinketh, the power of now, or the Kybalion. This isn't about becoming arrogant, it's about becoming authentic. You're not claiming superiority, you're claiming responsibility. You stop outsourcing your power to systems, trends, or fears. You remember you were always the source, not the effect. And once you operate from that knowing, your words carry creation, your presence carries direction, and your life becomes a direct reflection of the immortal soul that never left. It just waited for you to remember. If you want to elevate your vibrations and manifest with more ease, I have prepared something special for you. Click the link in the first pinned comment and join us in the journey of awakening your inner mage.